What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, checking out a brand new interesting draw card that just got revealed. I'm pretty sure that this is from the GX era. I'm not exactly sure who used this in the anime. If you know that, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. But I'm almost certain that this is from the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime. It's called Slash Draw, and it's a hard once per turn normal spell that says discard one card, send to your graveyard cards on the top of your deck equal to the number of cards your opponent controls, then draw one card, and if you do, show it, then send it to the graveyard if it is slash draw. Okay, and if you do that, destroy all cards on the field, then inflict 2,000 damage to your opponent for each card destroyed and sent to the graveyard by this effect. If it is not slash draw, shuffle into the deck cards from your graveyard equal to the number of cards sent to the deck to the graveyard by this effect. Holy crap, this might be the most complicated and convoluted draw card I have ever seen in my entire life, maybe throughout this game's entire history. All right, to kind of break it down and simplify it, the discarding is actually a cost. So no matter what, you're always going to discard a card from your hand, and basically when you activate this card, you check your opponent's side of the field and you see how many cards they have on their field. Let's just go with your opponent has 4 cards in their side of the field. So you draw a card, and if it's another copy of slash draw, you reveal it to your opponent, you excavate that many cards, and you nuke the entire board. Both players lose all their cards on the field, they're all destroyed, and then you burn your opponent for 2,000 for each card that was actually destroyed by this effect. So if your opponent has, well, if they have 4 cards, and I don't know, even if you don't have anything at that point, your opponent will auto lose the duel because that's 8,000 damage. So I don't know, maybe somebody will make some janky OTK or something like that. I guess technically, if you knew that slash draw was on the top of your deck, it would probably be in your best interest to put cards on your field, like go ahead and normal summon, set some spells and traps so that you can get your burn damage to a maximum. However, if it isn't slash draw, which is probably what it's going to be in most cases, you don't reveal the card that you draw to your opponent. You do get to draw a card, and then you actually take from your graveyard the number of excavated cards and you put those back into your deck. To me, this is just a really complicated card, and I don't really understand what deck is supposed to use this. Like, I know that there is somebody screaming at the screen right now saying Cap G Infernoids, Cap G Lightsworns. The problem is, like, those decks already have better, more consistent cards. First things first, as far as I know, from what I've been told, you cannot activate this card if your opponent has no cards on their side of the field. So if you go first, you can't even activate this card. Like, that's not a good sign. You can activate things like Reasoning, Charge of the Light Brigade, Solar Recharge, obviously all the Light Swarm mill effects like Raiden, the ones that like inherently mill. You can activate those to get cards in the graveyard turn 1, but you can't even activate this card. Second, it is completely like the amount of cards you actually excavate are completely based on your opponent's field, which I don't know if I want to run a card like that. I mean, yes, if my opponent has 8 cards on board, like I get to mill 8 cards and that's lovely, but if you don't get a slash draw, you still have to put those cards from your graveyard back into your deck, and I don't know, that seems incredibly counterproductive. That seems like it defeats the whole purpose. Now, I will say this, cards that you send to the graveyard, even if you send them back to your deck, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, they should actually activate if they're cards like, Shadows or Burning Abyss, cards that cannot miss timing. What I'm saying is, let's just say your opponent has 1 random MST set. You activate this card, you excavate 1 Graph to the graveyard. Graph is your only card, so you're forced to put it back. I believe that Graph should actually be able to activate, even if Graph isn't in the graveyard at resolution. I'm pretty sure about that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong, but to me, that just seems like wasted opportunity. Like, I already have to kind of rely on my opponent to have a big field for me to get the most out of this. Why do I have to send the cards back to my deck, even though I already discarded the card to activate this? This card seems like it had too many restrictions. Maybe if it had 1 restriction where you just had a discard cost, but you got to keep all the cards in your graveyard no matter what you drew. Maybe if it didn't have the discard cost, and then you got to, kind of get the Saryuja Skull Dread, because that's what it is basically. It's kind of like a Saryuja Skull Dread for your graveyard. You know what I mean? You get to pick and choose what you want to keep. Did you mill that Fairy Tale Snow? Okay, well then put Brilliant Fusion back in your deck, because Brilliant Fusion doesn't do anything from the graveyard, or at least it's not important as that Wolf and that Felis and that Mizuki that you milled. Go ahead and put the Soul Charge and the Monster Reborn and the Scapegoat back in your deck. I just think that, yeah, they put too many limitations on this card. I kind of get what they were going for, but as long as we have cards like Grass and, the Charge of the Light Brigade, like, we have just way better options, and I just really don't see how this card fits into any decks. Like, Infernoids are not going to run this, even though Infernoids traditionally don't have a cost pitching cards from their hand to the graveyard because they can just summon a big Infernoids bat. You don't know what you're getting out of this. You know what I mean? If you go second with Infernoids and your opponent only commits 2 cards to the field, What are you getting? You're just getting a mill too. Like, fuck that. I'd rather just run way more consistent cards. I don't know, I'd rather just run Brilliant Fusion at that point, because Brilliant Fusion will at least get you a Trick Clown and a Gem Knight in the grave, and maybe, you know, a Seraphonite on field and get you another normal summon. So, I don't know. This card is kind of wasted potential, too many restrictions, and I don't think that it'll see any play at all unless somebody comes up with a janky OTK. But you guys let me know in the comment section below. Maybe you have that janky OTK deck. Although, again, you cannot go first and activate this, so you always have to go second. Anyways, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already. And also, that janky OTK deck won't work if your opponent just says, you know what, I'm just not putting anything on the board. If your opponent knows you're playing it, they're just like, no, I'm not putting anything on the board. You can't even activate the card. GG, you lose. Or I guess they could just, well, no, even if they have one card on the board, you could fill it up. But I'm just talking about nonsense now. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.